So I'm French native, and my parents migrated from Morocco in the early 70s. So, Morocco, yeah. And I grew up in the south of France, a beautiful area near Aix-en-Provence, Avignon. And later on, I started growing into my career, and I moved into different regions of the world. The first one was really kind of crossing the channel from France to England. So I spent 7 years in England.
And when did you come to Asia?
And I came to Asia, it was around 2000, and end of 2009, beginning 2010. And the reason why was because I had spent 7 years in the UK, and I think the weather was starting to get into me. So I needed to go somewhere else and find some sun. And also I needed to expand my exposure to the world, to the global world. So I decided on Asia because I felt like there was a stronger calling than it would have been with Latin America, for example. So I felt like, okay, Asia, it would be for the future.
So it was like an adventure.
It was an adventure. It's much more difficult than Hong Kong and Singapore because of the language.
Yeah.
So I think in the 3.5 years that I lived there, I probably had 2 taxi drivers speaking English. I think something that I quickly learned is that when they speak in Chinese, because I didn't, there's a lot of modern words that don't exist in Chinese, in Mandarin. So basically they translate automatically to English. So you have all those sentences in Chinese, and suddenly you have all those modern words like digital and things like that pop in. So you can kind of reconstruct a little bit what the conversation is. So that was helpful because I could spend like an hour in a meeting with clients in Mandarin and still see if my team was on track with how we were presenting and all that. One trick
this is a trick. This is a good trick. How was life?
Life was amazing, yes, amazing. Everywhere I went, there was learning. So one question that I've always been asked is, which one did you prefer, Hong Kong, Singapore, or Shanghai?
Yeah.
I have no answer to that. They all brought me something memorable, formidable, and grew me in different directions and different ways. Someone in Shanghai asked me one day, how would you describe Shanghai if it was a friend? It would be my dysfunctional friend because Shanghai keeps you on your toes. There's always something going on. You have to be a troubleshooter. You have to be on the go. This is why Shanghai and China are what they are. People are very dynamic, buzzy, always looking entrepreneurial. They're always looking for something new and finding solutions to everything. So that kind of taught me or helped me build even stronger edges to how I was in my ways.
Well, of course, now I want to know, is there any interesting story happened in Shanghai that you would like to share? Yeah. Something that maybe, again, for you was unusual, unexpected, culturally perhaps very different?
Many. I don't know. I'll take one I'll take one related to work. I mean, okay. I had a team reporting to me, 10 people, and one of them, the senior director, had just given birth, and she was coming back to the office, and she came to me and asking me for a breastfeeding holiday. And I'm like, what? I'm an expat from Europe. We don't have that. It's a HR policy or actually a governmental policy. So I had to go to HR and ask for more directions on that. And you do have to ask where do they do it because they can go home and do it. Anyway, that's one story that stuck with me.
That's funny. Okay, so China, and then after that you came back to
then I came back here, it was 2017-ish, and I was like, okay, time to, and also there was no further evolution possible for me in the organization I was with, so it was time to rethink a little bit. So I decided it was time to come back to Singapore, and a few months later, I found a new role in Singapore with a consulting firm, and 2 years later, I was hired by BI Worldwide as a business development director for Asia Pacific, before I got promoted a year and a half later to managing director.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was fantastic, fantastic journey.
BI stands for?
Business Incentives Worldwide.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is largely, we could say, about employees' engagement, or like in other words, employee experience. Would it be correct?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons why I joined BI Worldwide was the fact that they are all about experiences. They're a company that focuses on how do we inspire people, whether they're employees, channel partners, salespeople, regardless of the role. And so the fact that they're all about experiences means that it's very kind of like driven towards human behaviors and all that. And I love that.
And you come across very much as a people person, so I can imagine that for you it's like a really good fit.
Absolutely.
So it has been now, what, 4.5 years, right?
4 years, yes.
So it was 4 years that you were here. So what was your biggest lesson as the person who is leading?
Yeah, I think, so I joined BI Worldwide on the 1st March of 2020. So my first lesson with BI Worldwide was we're on lockdown, and I just started with them. So everything I had to do had to be at home by myself. So I learned a lot about how to work in a very kind of virtual world with BI Worldwide and how we can still make it happen. It was not even, no one felt like restrained and constrained. The virtual world started, we had even more engagement because we were creating all those like virtual ways to connect, those games, assignments, employee experience kind of mechanisms and ways to stay closer.